What's the most disturbing thing your partner has said to you while you were pregnant? It wasn't until I got pregnant that I realized Jake wasn't like the other guys, because he was worse. Out of nowhere, my husband turned from every girl's dream guy to a complete psycho. At 4 months pregnant, he told me my baby bump would attract unwanted attention, and if I didn't cover up, that made me a W word. So what outsiders probably saw as Jake being attentive and protective, I felt suffocated. He installed a new safety app on my phone that tracked every movement, insisting it was for both my well-being and the baby's. And even in summer, he only allowed me to go outside if I wore a full-length trench coat, because in his words, this protected me from anyone who was targeting pregnant women. But I told myself it was just paternal instinct, and it would go away after I gave birth. Spoiler alert, it never did. Soon, he was hiding his search history from me and locked the door of his office when he was in there, something he never did before. But I knew he wasn't cheating, simply because he couldn't. He was an engineer, so his workforce was all male, and he was working almost 70 hours a week. And that's when the jokes came. At first, they were tame. Nothing's hotter than a woman carrying proof she's fertile, he'd say while slapping my butt. Or sometimes he'd call me a breeding goddess. Honestly, they made me giggle and sometimes even blush. But then they took a very dark turn. Sometimes when I'd use his computer to research stuff about the baby, his search recommendations would come up. There was a lot of stuff about myophilia. If you don't know what that means, look it up. And he had watched hundreds of videos of women giving birth. But I was too scared to confront him, partially because I didn't want him to get mad at me, but mainly because of my pregnancy symptoms. I was throwing up for an hour every morning, and could barely stand on my own without feeling like my spine was about to snap in two. So I let my body speak, and it told me to keep the peace. So I listened. And unfortunately, I learned my lesson too late. Actually, I learned it right when my water broke, because when I grabbed my phone to call my sister, Jake grabbed it from me. "Hey Gabby, everything is completely under control, but I don't think it's best for you to show up. We'll let you know when you should visit." I wanted to yell at him, but the pain was too overbearing, so I just focused on trying to keep myself sane while we drove to the hospital. When we got there, I was practically thirsting for an epidural, pain relief. The pain had gotten so bad I felt like every nerve in my body was trying to escape through my hips. But just as the nurse came in to give it to me, Jake intervened. "She wanted a natural birth, please respect our wishes," he said while showing her a fake birth plan that I had never seen before. My thoughts were completely scrambled. When the medical staff left for a monitoring equipment change, I thought he was going to hand me something stronger, but he didn't. And while I begged him to get me painkillers, he just stared at me. "Stop asking. I have a better idea." His eyes were cold, unforgiving. It's proven that when a woman works to please her husband during childbirth, it releases natural endorphins to help pain relief. As soon as he said the words pain relief, my delirious mind completely stopped thinking about anything else. I just needed it to end. Next thing I knew, Jake was zipping up his jeans, my mouth was covered in saliva, and Dr. D came into the room. I was so out of it that all I wanted was comfort from my husband, so I let him hold me and caress my head. Jake told her to get out, and told her that the reason I was crying was because I wanted to be left alone. I felt her eyes glance over at me, but I was in too much pain to say no or even just shake my head, so she took Jake's word for it and left. What Jake did in that room while I gave birth is something I still have nightmares about. Even as I write this post, tears are falling onto my screen. I won't go into detail, but it was every disgusting intimate act you could think of. Probably worse. So much so that when my baby finally popped out, Jake was even more exhausted than me. And when he fell asleep in the chair beside me, I finally called my mom, dad, and sister. They didn't say a word, just kept their arms around me while I broke down. And even though I never wanted to discuss that experience with a human being, I knew I had to keep me and my baby girl Isadora safe. So I texted them what happened. Immediately, my dad blackmailed Jake into leaving. As soon as he left, I finally felt safe enough to fall asleep. And I didn't know it at the time, but my dad was about to make my husband pay, and my life was about to change forever. The rest of the full story is on my channel, and